Hello and welcome to Technology Update. On today's show, we listen to some pretty cool tunes. Russia gets caught up in the next industrial revolution. Miracle materials make for medical marvels. And we hold our very own Mad Tea Party. But first, in today's fast-paced world, the race is on to get more done in less time. But the old saying, more haste, less speed, was never truer than on the roads of the world's megacities, where crippling congestion slows progress to a snail's pace. So perhaps a dose of high-tech decongestants will help cities breathe easier.
Second wind.
Moscow's traffic jams are legendary. In fact, the capital was awarded the dubious title of the world's most congested city last year by GPS maker TomTom, with the average Muscovite driver spending over 5 full days per year stuck in tailbacks, which altogether can stretch up to 2,000 kilometers. High-tech gadgets like the head-up display from Mercedes show collision and lane departure warnings, making for a safer drive, reducing accidents and helping keep the city moving. While certainly an improvement over traditional dashboards, they do still require the driver to focus on the windscreen, leaving the rest of the road a blur. Once again, Skolkovo lived up to its reputation. This contraption in the foyer may look like an arcade machine, but under the bonnet it has more uses than just entertaining visitors. The Wayray navigation system puts augmented reality into the driving seat by projecting the route onto the road ahead, so the driver's eyes are kept firmly focused on the road. This simulation of the device also displays speed, fuel and rev counter information, rendering car dashboards a thing of the past. As well as helping drivers get about town or navigate treacherous cliff-hugging roads, the finished product will display up-to-date traffic information and can be installed in any existing vehicle. Wayray is now off the drawing board and in development, but the simulator is far from redundant.
We decided to build a simulator to refine the user interface in order to test the way the display works before installing it in a real car. It allows us to demonstrate the focus to infinity effect, so that people quickly understand that this new type of navigation system is indeed more convenient, because it doesn't distract you from driving.
The Wayray team have ambitious plans to network Wayray navigators with each other and the rest of the city to coordinate traffic and relieve roads of congestion. So the burning question is, when can we see them in our cars?
The optical design for both the holographic part and for the diffusion part is almost ready. And right now, we're working on building a pre-industrial prototype, just as soon as possible.
A lot of the scientific legwork to create Wayray is being carried out at the Lebedev Physical Institute, named after the man whose bust adorns the entrance. A Technology Update regular, the Institute's long-standing expertise in lasers hardly needs mentioning. One of the main challenges is producing a 3D image on a flat windscreen that appears up to 20 meters in front of the car. Andrei Nikolaevich here has worked wonders helping the Wayray team overcome some of the practical and scientific stumbling blocks. Once you get past all the smoke and mirrors, you'll find that creating an image with such depth out of thin air isn't sorcery. The secret behind the technology lies in this holographic film. The film basically acts as a 3D display on the windscreen. The 3D, or stereoscopic image, is what varies the focal points from the windscreen to infinity, effectively overlaying the image along the road ahead. So what's the trick? Unlike existing solutions that simply project information onto the windscreen, the film contains a holographic lens, and this is how it's made. A highly coherent laser beam is split into two. One beam is shone through a glass lens onto the holographic film, and the second, reference beam, is shone directly onto the film. And it's the interference between these two beams that's recorded and creates the holographic lens.
We already have some experience of working with virtual displays. These generally look like flat surfaces, which are usually not very big, since the laser power that we have now limits us to a certain size. Currently, this is around 10 by 12 centimeters, but in the future they will be 2 or 3 times bigger, which means we will need a more powerful laser.
The holographic film is completely transparent and has a diffraction efficiency of over 90%, making it ideal for a lens. However, it only reacts to the laser wavelength that was used to record the image. So, to create a color display in the end product, 3 lasers representing the primary colors will be used to record 3 holographic layers. Holograms have none of the drawbacks of current 3D display technology that requires special viewing glasses, which can be uncomfortable and darken the images on screen.
It's very good that they've become so heavily involved in this, because enthusiasm means a lot here. It's a complex task, because we are not just talking about making a lens. It should be safe in crashes, and you should be able to integrate the lens into the windshield. You need to place the projector somewhere. The optical projection system is also quite sophisticated. The software is very important as well. Why? Because without sensors monitoring the driver and the situation outside, this system would be no more than just another clock.
Wayray has already received numerous accolades at such prestigious events as the Innovation Convention and interest from the likes of Intel and famous car makers. So we hope it hits the road soon. Before we see what the future of technology holds, let's take a look back and see what's already happened in 2014.
News Bites.
The Russian Quantum Center, Skolkovo's largest resident, officially opened another lab complex at the Innovation Center at the end of last year. The complex consists of 6 labs equipped to carry out research in different areas of quantum physics, including optics, simulators, information processing and photonics. The center employs 70 scientists, including 2 Nobel laureates. It also contains the world's only 400 gigawatt pulse laser system. Cosmonauts Oleg Kortov and Sergei Ryazansky completed Russia's longest ever spacewalk on December the 27th last year. At 8 hours 7 minutes, it marks the longest amount of time the Russian-made Orlan Mk suits have spent in open space. The cosmonauts' mission was to install high and medium resolution cameras on the exterior of the International Space Station to send images back to Earth in near real time. The meteorite that exploded over Chelyabinsk last year was the largest object to hit our planet in a century. It shattered thousands of windows and knocked people clean off their feet. Professor Viktor Grachovsky at the Ural Federal University was voted one of Nature magazine's top 10 scientists of 2013. He played a crucial role in calculating the trajectory of the meteorite. The calculations made by the meteorite hunter led to a 570-kilogram boulder being recovered from a lake west of the city.
We'll have to create a simulation. We'll need to set long-term experiments going. We'll need virtual models. All because what was happening inside this ball of fire is a mystery.
It's the end of January and winter is well and truly here. But just when you think you've had enough of the snow, the ice laboratory might just change your mind.
Focal point.
The Ice Laboratory exhibition is currently being held for the first time in Moscow. The event fuses art and science to produce some pretty cool exhibits, including this cryophone, which was one of the highlights of the show. It uses algorithms to generate musical compositions when dry ice is added to water. Sensors in the container register the changes in temperature and pressure as the dry ice turns to gas. All this information is then processed and sent to the 6-channel sound system. As well as entertaining guests, the exhibition has more serious undertones, hoping to raise awareness of the role that ice has in forming and recording our planet's climate.
The scientists were so kind as to give us a very rare sample for our art. Here we can see both lake and atmospheric ice. Lake ice is clearer and more transparent, while atmospheric ice is speckled. On the basis of these speckles, a glaciologist can determine what the climate was like thousands of years ago.
The open-source Vostok project lets visitors see holograms of ice taken from the dark depths of Lake Vostok. That's all for the first half. See you after the break. Welcome back. Now, if all the hype is to be believed, we'll all soon be printing off anything from vases to spanners, right in the comfort of our very own printed homes, in what has been widely hailed as the next industrial revolution. So we went to Zelenograd to find out more. Core Tech. Zelenograd's calm exterior may be deceiving, but the innovative green city may just be leading the country into the next industrial revolution. 3D printing promises to shift mass production from the factory floor and bring it into the home, allowing owners to realize their wildest dreams in plastic. Zelenograd is the birthplace of Russia's first commercial 3D printer, the Picasso Builder. Already in its third incarnation, the device's ease of use, high printing speed and precision puts it up there with the rest.
It all started when I was still in my fourth year at school. I wanted to work on a project of my own. Initially, we tried robotics, but then we realized that it would be difficult to commercialize our products, as this would require serious investment. We didn't have anything to create our prototypes with, and that's when we first realized we have such an instrument as a 3D printer.
Although 3D printing technology has been around since the 80s, it only really kicked off commercially when the majority of patents relating to fused deposition modeling, or FDM, lapsed in the US in 2007. This led to the markets being flooded with affordable open-source printers, such as this one by Ultimaker. Each Picasso printer is put together by hand on site, with the majority of parts being produced right here in the city. And, in the true spirit of 3D printing, the company even prints out parts to make more 3D printers. Given all the media hype surrounding the technology and its almost unlimited uses, demand for them is steadily growing, and the guys here in Zelenograd are working flat out just to keep up.
The latest generation device can produce very high-quality products, with a high-quality surface and a high level of consistency when making more than one of the same object. The deviation of the printed plastic model from the original 3D model is within a few hundredths of a millimeter.
Global demand for 3D printers and accessories is expected to grow significantly. The lion's share of demand will be in North America, Western Europe, and Asia. However, the growth in demand in Eastern Europe is likely to be higher than the average at 24.1%, reaching $103 million in 5 years. All in all, the world 3D printing market is expected to be worth $5 billion by 2017. The company's own Pegas Polygon software lets users modify the size of their objects and view progress in real time. The printer doesn't even need to be connected to a computer. Users can simply insert an SD card and hit print. While the vast selection of free online files means that early adopters will have plenty to keep them busy. Whether the 3D printing revolution is just around the corner or here already, one thing's for sure. In Russia, it started here in Zelenograd. The possibilities of 3D printing don't end with 3D trinkets. We have the ability to print anywhere at any time. But does that mean we can print anything? What's up in the lab? The winter is always a reminder of how we should look after our health, with A&Es everywhere feeling the strain, particularly at this time of year. There's no doubt that organ transplants save lives, but waiting lists for compatible donors can never be short enough. So what if there were a way of producing compatible organs on demand? Bioprinting has traditionally meant printing biocompatible materials as a base for cells to grow. Though it may sound far-fetched, scientists have already managed to print a human ear and other tissues. Doctors take a scan of the organ to create a 3D blueprint. Cells are then taken from the patient, which are then placed in a culture to multiply. The cells are then painstakingly placed on the 3D printed scaffold, which is then incubated to produce a functioning organ. 3D bioprinting solutions opened its labs in September 2013, with the sole purpose of advancing tissue engineering. Supported by the Moscow Department of Healthcare and in vitro labs, the Skolkovo resident should soon have all the equipment necessary to manufacture organs. It's also working on a revolutionary bioprinting technique, The method still requires the 3D printed cell molds commonly used to store and grow various cell types, but crucially, it no longer requires the scaffold around which they are placed.
In 2014, Russia will have its first 3D bioprinter. This will far surpass any previous models, as it will be produced using nanotechnologies. Its speed and accuracy will far exceed that of any of the current models. And perhaps most importantly, it won't even be that expensive.
Traditional tissue engineering methods involve removing all the cells from a dead human or animal organ, leaving only the protein scaffold, which is then repopulated with stem cells and incubated. Mironov has taken this a step further and has come up with a method for printing an organ directly without the use of any organic or artificial scaffolds. It involves extracting stem cells from the patient's fat tissue, which are then mixed with a hydrogel and placed in 3D printed molds. These are then incubated to produce spheroids, which are the building blocks of organ printing. From here, you can pretty much print any organ you like.
We do not use animals or any synthetic polymers for support structures or scaffolds. We only use hydrogel.
The hydrogel is 99% water. It contains the spheroids, which are each made up of tens of thousands of cells, together making the bio-ink used to create organs. The printer lays down a layer of biopaper onto which the cell clusters are printed. Cells of the same type are naturally attracted to each other and combine to produce tissue. The process continues in this way, layer by layer. The biopaper eventually dissolves and the layers fuse and self-organize to produce a fully functioning organ.
The simplest tissues are those that don't have blood vessels in them, such as cartilage, skin, bones, and so on. The organs that we really need are kidneys, livers, hearts, and lungs. But that may only be possible in the distant future.
Although printed organs might not be here quite yet, doctors can already do some pretty impressive stuff. Stem cell therapy involves using new adult stem cells to regenerate damaged or diseased tissue. It may still be in its infancy, but doctors believe that the treatment has the potential to treat anything from spinal injuries and cancer to baldness and missing teeth. Heart disease is one of the biggest killers there is, with heart valve transplants running into tens of thousands in Russia every year alone. Thankfully, Penza-based Miedinja's pyrolytic carbon heart valves are indistinguishable in terms of performance from the real thing, but provide the long life offered by artificial ones, giving many people a second chance. Bone implants are now commonplace, but that doesn't make them any less advanced. Porous nickel-titanium alloy is a promising new material that's flexible when cold, but snaps back into its original shape at body temperature. But, just like soft tissue organs, bone implants also need to be accepted by the body, so they're given a special coating.
The surface coating should have the exact same composition as bone, so that the body doesn't reject the implant once it's inserted. So our task is to minimize the difference between the bone tissue and the implant. Ultra-thin calcium phosphate films do this perfectly.
Calcium and phosphate together make hydroxyapatite, which is a natural component of bone. The coating is applied by a process called physical vapor deposition, where calcium and phosphate are vaporized into a plasma, then condensed into a thin film onto the implant in this patented vacuum chamber. The whole procedure takes several hours, but the finely tuned ratios ensure the long-term success of the implant. The atoms gradually dissolve, stimulating bone growth around the implant, which results in a solid, natural bond.
As well as modifying bone implants, we have started researching ways to make ultra-thin coatings for coronary stents. As we all know, any malfunction of the cardiovascular system could be lethal. That is why searching for new ways to prolong the life of the patients is of utmost importance.
Stents are small mesh tubes that can be expanded to keep weak or narrow arteries open. Unfortunately, delicate arteries can be damaged during the implant operation or subsequent expansion. So, to avoid complications after the operation, the stents are coated in titanium nitride oxide, or TiNO for short. The super smooth coating helps avoid arterial damage and promotes healing, significantly reducing the risk of blood clots forming or the artery collapsing again later. The coating also remains intact as the mesh tube is expanded within the artery. Just like bone implants, the stent coatings are applied using the PVD process.
There is so-called early thrombosis and late thrombosis. The stents currently on the market guarantee successful treatment for older patients with early thrombosis. But there's increased risks of late thrombosis occurring even after several years. Our preliminary findings allow us to predict that we can avoid both early and late thrombosis.
Given all the medical breakthroughs we've already made, and with 3D printed ones coming in the not too distant future, hopefully we'll be able to start worrying less about our health and spend more time enjoying the finer things in life. The festive season is already behind us, but the Tech Up team weren't ready to stop celebrating, so welcome to our Mad Tea Party, but with a modern twist.
Brains over brawn.
Wouldn't it be great if instead of working you could just sit around, drink tea and read the newspaper? Time would become meaningless as you tumbled down the rabbit hole into a strange beguiling world of playing cards, smiling cats and white rabbits. And, as you wake with a start when the final bell rings, all your work has been magically done. But the weirdest thing of all is that this is no fictitious wonderland. The Robo-CV does all the heavy lifting and carrying so you don't have to. The completely automated forklift can freely move around warehouses transporting pallets and afternoon tea from A to B, giving you more time to kick back and relax or concentrate on more important things. Formed by a group of robotics enthusiasts just over 2 years ago, the company designs autopilot systems based around computer vision, hence the CV in Robo-CV. Although it's not the first company specializing in automated transport, the advantage of Robo-CV is that it can be installed in existing hardware.
Older automation technologies require a special infrastructure, like laser wall reflectors and magnets embedded in the floor. But all this is rather expensive and takes a long time to install. Our technology doesn't require anything like that. We only use computer vision. In other words, we simply replace the forklift driver with our automatic pilot system.
Robo-CV sees its surroundings with a laser ranging system at the front and 4 cameras. All this information is processed by the onboard computer, which in turn controls the accelerator, brake, wheels and forks. The robot first constructs a virtual 3D model of the warehouse. It then compares what it's currently seeing with the model to determine its exact location. The intelligent navigation system is capable of identifying and avoiding obstacles and people. They are all fully independent and communicate with each other wirelessly, which means they can establish who has right of way on the warehouse floor. Once the destination has been reached and the cargo picked up, it's off to the next job. But the secret behind their success isn't in the hardware.
Our key development is a mathematical tool that allows the system to understand exactly where it is. That was our main technological task. But it's really not enough just to produce a working technology. It's important that that technology comes at a low cost, so that it's economically feasible.
The relatively low initial cost of the solution, combined with the money and time saved in the long run, means that Robo-CV pays for itself in a short amount of time. With companies always looking to cut costs in today's tough financial climate, the makers of Robo-CV have even received orders from a well-known high-tech South Korean company. Samsung currently has 6 forklifts at its warehouse in the Kaluga region which have been fitted with the Robo-CV system, and the company is planning to increase this number in the near future. With one satisfied customer already in the bag, the team are actively working with other international brands. Spurred on by such early successes, the guys at RoboCV have ambitious plans for the future.
In the near future, our automatic navigation systems will be created for large quarry vehicles and other heavy machinery, as well as for other means of transport that could be used within a specifically confined area, such as, say, electric cars on campuses or trucks on factory premises.
Safety in warehouses was already pretty strict even before forklifts started driving themselves. RoboCV stops straight away if anything or any cameraman enters the area immediately in front of it. All information channels have backups and the whole system is monitored for glitches. So a world where robots do all our work for us might not be that mad after all. I'm afraid that's it for this edition of Technology Update. But with self-driving vehicles already here, we'll all soon be able to just sit back and enjoy the ride.